Whoa. Boy, I think it really is jumping good. And today, remember, we're not dolphin fishing. We are sword fishing. This is bait. Son, they're going to be our cameraman, and they got another cameraman on that boat just to film us. But in the meantime, they drop down as we drop down, and they've hooked a swordfish. So now we have 2 swordfish hooked up.
Bass Pro Shops presents Fishing with Roland Martin. Brought to you by Tracker Boats, fish the finest. Gary Yamamoto Custom Baits, designed by fishermen for fishermen. Timbuktu, Fisher's Choice, real bait ready when you are. And by Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Closed caption provided by Spro Lures. This segment of Fishing with Roland Martin is brought to you by Mercury, #1 on the water.
Captain Richard Stanzik.
Roland, how are you?
Folks, let me tell you, this is the #1 broad-billed swordfish expert of the world. You are responsible for how many swordfish?
Roland, I think I've witnessed about 400 broadbills now captured during the daytime.
And daytime fishing, and that's been in the last 5 years.
About 5.5 years, that's correct.
Well, now, what do you think of this rod? You had me go by the rod shop with Rick Berry and get the stand-up rod for today's fishing.
You know, actually, Roland, Rick builds all of our rods, and you know, I really like this. It's got a really good tip. You don't want a real stiff rod, and I think you're going to have the line capacity, and I think you'll do fine with this.
Well, it's a little bit smaller reel than you're using the 80 class. I'm using the 50 class, but I do have 3,500 feet of 80-pound braid.
If you hook the right fish, you're going to need every foot of that string.
Now, Richard, you're the owner and operator of this world-famous Bud and Mary's Marina. Tell me a little bit about this history.
Okay, Roland, you know, I've been here about 32 years, and of course, Bud Mary's was established in 1944. You know, it has truly earned its reputation as the center of the sport fishing capital. And you know, the reason they call Alamorada the sport fishing capital, you got the Atlantic Ocean, you got Florida Bay, you got the Gulf of Mexico. And the interesting thing is, Roland, any fish that swims in this hemisphere can be caught from this very location.
And look at all the famous people that have fished here. Ted Williams and Jimmy Albright.
Yeah, well, you know, Jimmy Albright was my mentor, and I think one of the greatest. And yeah, Ted fished a lot here. Johnny Morris fished a lot here.
Johnny Morris and Alex Adler. I
Alex,
fished with him a lot. I tell you, folks, this is steeped in history.
It certainly is. It certainly is.
Speaking of history, let's make some history today. What do you expect for today's fishing?
Well, you know, Roland, we're going to have my son Nick join you on your boat, Captain Nicholas Stanzik, and of course, we're going to be going on the B&M with Captain Vic Gaspenny. We're hoping to produce a swordfish on each boat. I think we will.
Boy, I'm just so impressed with the photographs that you have on the wall. You started years ago like a world record bonefish right there. You've gone into the tuna fish, you've gone into every kind of other billfish in the whole world, and now it's swordfish.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, it may be a little known fact, but Vic Gaspenny is actually the angler of record who has captured the most broadbill swordfish, which now totals 148. Wow. Yes.
That's going to be something. We'll see him in action today.
I hope we will.
Now, Richard, what was your motivation to get you started for daytime sword fishing?
You know, actually, Roland, I was involved back in 1976 with the sword fishing at night. I was part of the group that captured the first ones. We didn't actually discover daytime sword fishing. We imported it. Dr. Reuben Hines actually discovered it down in Venezuela. Captain Vic Gaspenny suggested we try it here. We did. My brother, Captain Scott Stanzik, Captain Vic Gaspenny, Captain Richard Stanzik, Captain Nick Stanzik, we're the group that, so to speak, you know, pioneered this fishery. As of this date, Captain Vic, for instance, has now landed 148 broadbills on reel, which establishes him as the foremost angler in the world of bill fishing for swordfish. I personally have witnessed a capture of about 400 broadbills, somewhere in that number, and I expect our biggest one was somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 pounds.
And folks, just last week, Captain Vic had landed 3 big swordfish. One of them was 415 pounds.
That's correct, Roland. He fished 40 years. It's been a childhood dream of his to capture a 400-pound broadbill. Last week he accomplished that. Had to use a forklift to take him out of the boat.
Well, that was just last week. It might be better today. Maybe we can get another record, huh? Let's just try.
I think we can. It's kind of reminiscent of the days of Zane Grey, Roland. Let's go get him.
Hey, folks, this is Richard's son, Nick Stanzik. Thanks for being our captain today.
Not a problem. Morning, Roland.
Well, he has some great credentials, folks. He's a recent graduate of the University of Miami, and he's been a member of the swordfish team here in Almirada that pioneers, for the last 3.5 years, pioneers the swordfishing with he and his father. Now, what's the agenda for swordfishing?
Well, we got about a 30-mile run,
Okay.
so we're going to get going here shortly, and we're going to look for dolphin, tunas, and bonitas on our way out.
Why is that?
Well, we use a lot of the bellies for bait. Dolphin bellies, bonita bellies, tuna bellies, and I brought some squid as well, so.
So we don't know what the swordfish could hit all 3.
They could eat everything today. They might only eat one thing, so we want to have it covered.
Now, what about the weather?
That's a little iffy. We got some rain and some thunderstorms around, but hopefully we get going and get out there.
Okay, let's get started. Okay, folks, here we are offshore with Nick Stanzik. And I think we have a good dolphin on, don't you?
It looks like a decent one, yep.
Well, you know, dolphin are a great sport, and it could make a great show, but actually we're catching bait today. This is about a 10 or 15 pound dolphin, and we're gonna catch some swordfish. We're gonna take this and we're gonna cut the belly.
Yep, I just want the belly out of him.
Get the belly out.
And we can still eat his fillets. I just need his belly. Hopefully we turn it into a big fat swordfish.
Yeah. Now, what size swordfish are we talking about? We're talking
Well,
about fish up to 400 pounds,
They
right?
could be 400 pounds. A lot of them are in the 50 to 100 pound class, but they do get bigger. I'm getting a bite right here too, Roland.
You getting a bite?
Yeah.
Get 'em.
Premature there. But yeah, they could be anywhere up to 400 pounds would be a really big one. Anything over about 150 is a really nice fish. So,
Look at this big old dolphin. Big old giant dolphin, son. We got 2 of them on. Oh, did you see him jump? Can you imagine catching 20-pound dolphin for swordfish, for bait? That's a big fish.
when I get this fish up here, I might need some assistance boat side, all right? I might have you gaffing for me.
Nick, what do you think of these Avent reels?
I like them. They're real smooth and
They are smooth. This is
Yeah.
that 2-speed model. It casts good too. You know, Nick, even if we don't catch a big swordfish, we're having a successful day with these dolphins.
yep, you can't complain with these dolphins. Kind of getting to the end of the season for them. It's the middle of August, but still a handful around, as you can see.
Well, these are nice. We're way offshore, folks. We're in about 1,000 feet of water going to the swordfish grounds, and we're into some really big dolphin. These are all 10, 15, 20, 30-pound fish. Oh boy, he's doing some jumping now. Whoa. Boy, I think he really is jumping good. Really jumping good. About a 30-pounder.
Let me know when yours gets close.
Okay.
My fish is still swimming. Oh, buddy. Almost escaped me. I got
Oh, man,
mine,
that's
Roland.
a nice one.
Yours is bigger though, but I'll
Nice one.
take this one. That's a
That's a
pretty
good
cow
one.
dolphin though.
That's a good one there.
We'll take them.
There we,
We
go.
got him,
Hey,
Roland.
that's a good one.
That's a nice dolphin there.
That's a 30-pounder.
That's a
isn't
30
it?
plus pounder.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Now, I
Hey,
hope
that's
you
a
don't
nice
show me
big
missing
bull.
on camera.
And today, remember, we're not dolphin fishing. We're sword fishing. This is bait. Son.
This segment of Fishing with Roland Martin is brought to you by Line and Lure Conditioner. Outfish, outcast, outlast. Mako Boats presents this segment of Fishing with Roland Martin.
That's one of those 280-pound swivels there. That 280-pound Spro swivel. And this is 300-pound leader that we're working with.
That's a long wind-on leader there, the 300 pound, which you mentioned earlier. And hopefully when we get a bite on here, this piece of lighter line here will break, the big concrete sinker we're gonna be using, hopefully that'll drop right off.
We're putting an 11-pound weight or 12-pound weight, concrete weight. It's on a breakaway system. So when the swordfish hits, this rod's gonna break away. He's dropping it down now, he's dropping it down. These swordfish are incredibly deep water fish. This is daytime sword fishing, and reason why it's a new deal that Richard and Nick have perfected is that up till just the last couple of years, nobody caught many fish in the daytime because they're so deep. Now he's figured out, both Richard and Nick have figured out ways to get way, way deep, particularly with this lighter stand-up tackle, and now with the event of the lighter, thinner braided lines like the super braids like we have now. It requires it to cut through the water better. You can get deeper and more sensitivity in this really deep water. When you're dealing with almost 2,000 feet of water, you need that thinner line with a lot of sensitivity. Something hit it. I don't know if it's a bite.
We might be getting a bite there, Roland. There you go, sinker broke off. Crank. Get tight. Big fish just broke the lead off. Racing up. There you go, okay. Let's leave it on the water. Let's get you set up.
Got a fish on.
Big sword on.
Got a fish on the first drop.
Yep, we got him on, pulled off some line, broke the lead right off. We're tight on him now.
He's on.
Hey, man, because we don't even know what bottom is. Okay, we're going to get this thing on.
Well,
all right, Roland, let's get you set up. Why don't you grab that harness? We'll try to stay tight on.
I'm going to get the harness on. And then, now I got the drag.
Yep,
okay.
I'll try to keep tight on them. Get you clipped in.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, they think they might have one on too, so.
Here we are, we're hooked up on a nice swordfish, and there's Richard Stanzik in the Bud and Mary's boat, and they're hooked up as well. They're gonna be our cameraman, and they got another cameraman on that boat just to film us. But in the meantime, they drop down as we drop down, and they've hooked a swordfish. So now we have 2 swordfish hooked up.
Now this fish is coming up to the surface. Like I said, you hook them down there in that cold water, they race up to this warm water on top. A lot of times they jump, and a swordfish in the daytime is probably one of the most, pretty fish you can see. You have these blue, violet colors.
Yeah.
And let's just hope he stays on there and get him up here both sides.
What's the worst thing that could happen? The hook could pull.
Yeah, pull a lot of hooks. Like you said yourself, you fished 6 days out here and you had bites,
I know,
15 or 20 bites, and you caught one.
I had the same thing happen like this 2 or 3 times where I had a fish on like this, and I was using my electric reel. Now, when I was using it like this, I'm using this big giant electric reel by Electromate, and I can also use this as a downrigger system where I can drop this down to the bottom, this big giant reel, and then have this reel as a breakaway system like a downrigger, or I can use this electric reel with just a weight on it and a hook on it and actually catch, that's what I caught my fish on a month ago. A month ago I actually caught a 227-pound swordfish on this electric reel. But we're doing the stand-up today. We'll probably use the electric reel in a little while. If we catch this fish, we're gonna use that big electric reel. Nick, really on this kind of a fight, you gotta kind of pace yourself. You could fight real hard and just wear yourself down. But I noticed Vic, in the way he catches it. I went out with your uncle Scott, and with Vic, and we caught one 191 that day, and I saw the way he fought the fish, and he was just basically taking it easy, not putting a whole lot of heat on him.
That's, you just want to take your time and be patient, because a lot of times you hook a big fish, you get 150-pound class fish or better, they come up to the surface, they dive right back down, so you don't want to wear yourself out in one shot.
Right.
So you just want to pace yourself, keep going. If you can gain line, gain line. If not, just be patient.
All right, ours is swimming up now, I think.
If this fish pulls off like many of the other ones had in the last month, I pulled about 10 of them off. I wouldn't be too excited, but I know they pull off. You see, you can lose these fish easily, and you actually only catch what's the percentage of ones that you catch?
Oh well, probably about 20% for what we get bites from, so not very good. But once in a while we'll catch 3 or 4 in a row, then we miss a dozen in a row, so.
Yeah. Nick, this swordfish is getting kind of close. He's only like 200 feet out.
He's getting up there now. A lot better than 1,500 feet.
Well, you know, the one I caught about a month ago, really the first one I ever caught, it was 227 pounds, and it fought a little bit more than this one. I don't think this one's as big as that 227, but that 227 was a real challenge, let me tell you.
I bet that's a good fish. That's a good quality fish.
It was a good quality fish. Now, also the week before that, the very first trip I took,